good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's episode of Alchemizing HR Navigating What's Next. Our topic, Beyond Box Checking, Win with Veteran and Military Spouse Talent. For those of you who are new to our community of learning, welcome. We are thrilled to have you. And for those of you who are returning, it's wonderful to see you again. If we haven't met, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Clarissa Peterson. I'll be your facilitator for today's session. I'm a former Chief HR and Ethics Officer who's had the privilege of working on every continent with the exception of Antarctica, and I'm probably not going there for the remainder of this year and highly unlikely next year as well, but never say never. I am also the proud holder of the GPHR and the SPHR and a former chair of the board of directors of HRCI. Today, I am president, CEO, and an executive coach at Ohana HR. Our firm works with leaders to help them gain self-awareness so that they can make their best and highest impact and continue to support the organizations they lead. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, we know you get up early and you stay up late to learn with us here at HRCI, and for that, we are so grateful. Go ahead and put your location in the chat so we can be sure to share that with everyone a little bit later. And also, we want to make sure that alchemizing is accessible to all. In that vein, we have a closed captioning service. If it's not a service you require, just click on the Show Captions button for more information. So now I get to introduce a returning guest speaker, Rob Arndt. Rob is the founder and CEO of BufferSprings and a proud Marine Corps veteran. He built his career in the recruiting and workforce space and saw firsthand how most veteran hiring programs were built on good PR, not real impact. That's why he founded BufferSprings to fix the broken system and prove what happens when you treat veteran and military spouse hiring as a business advantage, not a charity effort. Rob's approach is blunt, practical, and data-driven. He's worked with companies across the country to redesign how they attract and retain military-connected talent. His message is simple. Compliance might get you a certificate, but commitment gets you results. Veterans and spouses aren't a checkbox. They're built for the mission ahead. So without further delay, it gives me great honor to introduce today's speaker, Rob Arndt. Rob, take it away.
Awesome. Clarissa, thank you so much again. You are the best intro and hype woman in the business. Always great to get the intro from you. And thank you to Joe and Sarah and the rest of the team at HRCI for having us on. We have a lot to cover today, folks, and really excited about this crowd. We've done this for the third year in a row, and it's always electric on here. I can already see over 600 people logging on, so grab your popcorn, grab your cupcakes, whatever you got in front of you, and we're going to get rolling. So I am going to pull up my screen and we will be off to the races here. All right. So Clarissa, real quick, can we see the screen? Do we got a tech check on here? Beautiful. All right. So rolling right along. Good day, everyone. Welcome and huge thank you to our amazing partners at HRCI once again for all you do and taking the time to connect me and these folks on this important topic today. As Clarissa had stated, my name is Rob Arndt, and I am a 14-year Marine Corps veteran and the founder and CEO of BufferSprings. Essentially, we are a training consulting firm, and our purpose is to eradicate the world of underemployment within the military-connected community. In a nutshell, we help smart companies build military and veteran spouse programs that actually perform and not just exist. For today, this is not going to be another feel-good conversation about supporting the troops and hugging heroes and all the other things that you may hear in the space. This is going to be about what's real right now, where we're falling short, and where opportunity is hiding in plain sight, and most importantly, of how we fix those things at our companies and collectively, here in the United States and abroad. If you came here to wave a flag or do some hero hugging today, again, you are in the wrong place. If you came here for truth, results, and a better way of looking at this problem and how it impacts us all, welcome to Mission Critical, Beyond Box Checking and how we build and win with veteran and military spouse programs. So jumping in real quick and getting real with you all, most companies have awareness campaigns. not accountability systems. We do not have a veteran visibility problem. There's enough visibility out there. We have an accountability problem, and we've confused visibility with value somehow over the years. We host events, we post photos, but we can't show any outcomes or talk to those outcomes in any of the efforts that we do. Veterans and military spouses don't need pity projects or patriotic marketing or stock images of weird veterans wearing camouflage pajamas with a weird salute on your websites. We need systems that work in programs that are actually designed for us, not for you. Our North Star at BufferSprings is simple. It's progress over pity and profit. And the majority of the veteran industry focuses on pity and profit. Our veterans are broken, they need your help and hugs. Or it's about cramming a job fair full of as many people as possible and calling that a win when we know those things aren't effective. A quick example of this, and you can see the crumpled up papers on the side on the screen here, but a quick example of this is National Hire a Veteran Day. That just passed. For those of you who do not know, it was on July 25th. We saw all the banners, we saw the flyers, we saw the camouflage company logos, but what actually happened on that Friday in the middle of the summer? How many veterans did you hire? Does anyone know the answer to that question of what happened on July 25th at your company? If you're a veteran or military spouse yourself, were you hired on that day? Was somebody reaching out to you aggressively on that specific day? How do we even plan around a single hiring day? We can't do that when we're hiring 365 and have programs and policies that we need to adhere to. Even this month, November, we're all here, we're all thinking about veterans. This is more sight of mind, but what about the other 11 months? Are we just creating more noise, or are we driving real change in action? I will say, speaking from veterans, we have enough noise, and we call it the sea of goodwill, and it's hard for us to sift through that. Let's not be more noise, and let's show actual outcomes. So we're going to start asking some hard questions here, and this will be the first poll that we're hearing. So if you're seeing it pop up on your screen, please take a minute to read and answer this question. I ask leaders this all the time. If your military veteran or military spouse program disappeared tomorrow, what would actually change? And put some thought into this. Would your veterans and your military spouses even notice? Is this something that's more corporate than cultural? Do your people even know about the program now? Can you speak about that program? If I was to ask you to tell me 10 things about your military program, what would those answers be? And how would you make military connected? How would this make your military connected employees feel? Do they feel that this is something that it would be detrimental to their workplace, or would this be something that they don't even notice? So the answers that are on here are it's mission critical, and we would feel an immediate impact. For us at BufferSprings, we are service disabled, veteran owned and operated. If we stopped hiring veterans, we wouldn't have a company. We also have B on here, where we would notice it, but other priorities would quickly take its place. And then we also have those that we wouldn't even notice. It's more symbolic. It's more of a flag than it is an actual process. So for those of you who are choosing A, you're rare, and we definitely appreciate you, and this is the rareness of the companies. But as we can see, 61% of the folks are in that bottom rung that chose D, and that's fine. It's not failure. It's a moment for clarity, and we can only go up from there. If you chose B or C, that's honest, and we appreciate that honesty and openness. And this is where most organizations are. But when we're seeing on this, we have 61% telling us that they don't have a program. So that tells us something important, that the intent might be there, the advertisements, the PRs may be there, but the system is not actually built. And that's what we're here to change today. So looking at the legal constructs of this, for federal contractors here in the United States and abroad, if you're doing business with the United States government, basically you fall into this category if your company does $150,000 of business with the United States government or more. This applies to you. To make a very long story short, and a lot of things that are still ongoing with our government, Department of Labor, and everything else here in the United States, and I know we have about 10% of the folks from international audience, but some of the things that happen here, domino effect down to you. So probably should listen just in case some of this stuff does become reactive for you. But in 2025, the federal government rescinded what was called Executive Order 11246. And that order was the one that mandated affirmative action plans and reporting of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. When that happened and the Trump administration took away Executive Order 11246, a lot of companies showed their face. and hit a pause, or they froze their diversity, equity, and inclusion work that they claimed that they were committed to, but one policy change made them quickly retract. And some of these companies quietly walked away from it. Some of these companies were advertised saying that they never cared about this in the first place, and now that the policy's gone, they showed their ugly faces. It is what it is. Two programs that never changed, though, that were not thought of because Executive Order 11246 really overshadowed these were VEVRA, the Vietnam Era Readjustment Assistance Act of 1974, and Section 503, which covers and protects people with disabilities and individuals with disabilities. These two things are still law. They're still enforceable. They're still inspectable, and they are the only frameworks left that protect veterans, military spouses, and disability inclusion. Right now, the US government is a bit of a cluster, and I won't finish that compound word. But if you ask me, enforcement isn't if, it's when. Our government's figuring out who they are, but it's not a question of if, it's when they do come. And when they do, as per these laws, they're going to be looking for 3 years of documentation and proof that you did what you said you would do. Again, if you're a federal contractor, you are mandated to hire veterans. You have a 5.1% hiring and retention benchmark for veterans and a 7% benchmark for people with disabilities. So this isn't necessarily just about compliance or checking a box. It's about protecting your company, improving your values, not just to the government, but more importantly, to your people. Our organizations can only be as strong as our people allow them to be. And we'll cover that a lot today. So ask yourself, if the government looked today, would they see impact, or would they just see more flag waving and good faith efforts, or whatever we used to call them? Here's the brutal truth in all this and work that we've been doing, and I've been doing this work for a good part of 25 years in the veteran talent space itself. Compliance will keep you out of trouble, but culture will keep you in business. Compliance is a rented safety net. Culture is ownership. You can't outsource culture. You have to lead it. You have to invest in it every single day. And when your leadership sets the tone, compliance follows naturally. It shouldn't be the opposite. And that's the way it is in some of these organizations. Compliance is a reaction to policy. Culture is a reflection of your leadership. If you're a leader, a C-suite executive, you lead a small team, large team, international team, it's a reflection of you in the leadership that trickles down. So when we look in that mirror, what is it telling us? Do we like what we see? Are we having the right answers? Asking these questions helps us look into things, but we can't answer questions hypothetically or on just like, fractional data. So we have to get into the data because the numbers that we're seeing in front of us tell a different story than some of the headlines that we're seeing. And I want to uncover some of this today and talk about the truth, because I told you guys that I wasn't going to blow smoke at you today. You've probably heard this one. Veteran unemployment is only around 3%. The latest stat from Department of Labor says 3.1% unemployment. That sounds amazing, right? We're doing great. We're celebrating. There's nothing to look at here. The veterans are all set. We can go help stray cats or some other demographic, right? It's incorrect. It's misleading. It's dangerously misleading is what I will say in this. So when we peel back the numbers, the number that you're looking at, that 3.1%, comes from the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it counts everyone who has worked at least one paid hour in a week as employed. Again, so putting this down in construct, if a veteran works a 5-hour shift at minimum wage, they're counted the same as a full-time engineer at your organization. This is counting veterans who are Uber drivers, who are taking student veteran benefits just to make ends meet at the end of the day. So we are counting those people as a win when they are not. It's a mirage, not a win. So looking at the real data, not the political version that wins elections or whatever else, but we're seeing this differently through our eyes as veterans and military spouses. The most accurate picture of veteran employment comes from the Labor Institute for Statistics and Economic Policy, or LISEP. What they did is they have something that's called the true rate of unemployment, and that measured who is actually working full-time, who is earning a livable living wage, and who is not just clocking in a few hours. And according to LISEP, as of June of 2025, this year, Functioning unemployment for veterans is around 18.2%. That's almost 6 times higher than the number that the government is reporting out to us. And when we look at the systemic veteran underemployment numbers, these hover around the 61% mark, coming from LESEP, Call of Duty Endowment Study, as well as the latest Penn State University study. So when we look at this, we have systemic underemployment for military veterans. And yes, as a veteran myself, this sucks for us as veterans. Simple and plain. But it also sucks for you as employers because it means you're not getting the best out of your best people. I've seen what my sisters and brothers are capable of doing, and a lot of times it hovers on the impossible that we create every day, especially for the last 25 years that our country's been at war. These are some of our greatest people, but they're being underutilized. And shame on all of us for this, because we all feel this blow, and not just veterans. So let that sink in. With these numbers, 3 out of every 5 working age veterans in this country is either underemployed or not working at all. 3 out of 5 vets that you talk to. It's unacceptable to everyone, to me, to veterans, to your companies. And this isn't a data point. This is a crisis holding behind, and it's held behind a polished press release that we're all believing. These are the real numbers, and feel free to look up lesep.org and dig into some of these other numbers around veteran demographics and others. And it matters because underemployment is the #1 reason why veterans leave jobs within the first year. And we've seen some of the old stats that 66% of veterans leave in the first 18 months. That's not on veterans. That's on us not creating soft landing zones for them, or even the transition programs that I don't have time to get into today, but that's another problem. So if we can agree that these numbers don't tell the real story, then the question is, why are we collectively missing the mark? Another demographic group that I want to talk about today are military spouses, and these are one of the most underutilized talent pools in America today. The unemployment rate for military spouses hovers around 9%, and in some studies that I've seen, this goes as high as 27% unemployment for military veteran spouses. Over half of these individuals are also underemployed, just like the veterans that they chose to love, meaning that military households as a whole are systemically fighting an uphill battle economically and in the job market. And here's the real deal about military spouses. There's a lot of biases, stereotypes, and stigmas around veterans and around military spouses. And some of the ones that I've heard are that the military spouse is just waiting at home barefoot for the soldier to come back from war. The reality is that nearly 90% of these individuals are college educated. They've built resistance and resilience in their careers, adaptability and loyalty, things that most of your employers are begging for right now. And when we create flexible, remote-ready roles, we don't just hire skills, we gain retention. And our new world of work is built for that. It's not how we were pre-pandemic. One of our SkillBridge spouses said, and we have SkillBridgers running through our program, we also include the military spouses in that. And she had an epic quote that she said that remote work didn't give me flexibility, it gave my family stability. We are helping a military household, we are helping community, and that's the big difference here of looking at this as a strategic talent source and not somebody that needs to be hugged or coddled, because that's not how we were raised. Now we're going to jump into another poll. So we got some pretty brutal answers in the first one, and we'll talk about those as well at the end of the session. Poll number 2 popping up now. So what is the biggest challenge that your organization faces in hiring or retaining veterans and military spouses? Is it A, translating military experience into your job requirements? We see a lot of issues with that. Military experience does not translate over well, or it may be called something different, and we're not educating or taking the time to empower ourselves. Maybe it's getting your managers or your recruiters properly trained. We're going to events, we're thanking people for their service, we're handing out swag, but what do we know what to do with that logistics coordinator or that 88 Mike or that 3043 that we don't understand? The next one is competing with other hiring priorities. Are there people that you maybe care about more than veterans or investing into more than veterans? We saw that a lot when Executive Order 11246 was around, that veterans were kind of on the back burner to all other diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. Now that it's the only show in town, how does that show look from your viewpoint? And it's tracking outcomes as far as retention, promotion, acceleration, and things like that. We can't just look at the hiring numbers of how many veterans we put in seats, but what are they doing in those seats? Are they moving? Are they growing? Are they staying? Every time we ask these kind of questions, translation and manager readiness usually lead the list, and I'm curious to see what comes up today. But that's exactly where we see some of the most opportunity, because those are leadership issues, not necessarily resources or something that's on the veteran. So we won't spend too much time on this poll, but looking at it here, the last one on there, we do not have a consistent or measurable process. 38% of you, almost 40%. And then translating experience into job requirements. How many of you are training your people? When we know this is a problem, how many of us are actually fixing the problem rather than just looking down at it? And we'll cover some more of this in the HRCI Engage section and in the Q&A, but really appreciate the open feedback in here. And this is exactly what we're seeing from our standpoint. So, pulling ahead, in the work that we do, again, we're a consulting firm and we hand select smart organizations and help them build effective, scalable, and sustainable military talent programs. And here's what we find in almost every audit or assessment that we do. The majority of programs are originally built for optics instead of outcomes, and they're not tied to business outcomes or performance. So it's mainly just hugging heroes or doing our patriotic duty when reality, we need leadership. We need skilled talent, and we're not backing these initiatives up to that. So optics, not outcomes. The other thing that we see is we're tracking hires, but we're not tracking retention, promotion, ramp up time compared to our civilian counterparts, things that actually matter in a business construct. We can hire people all day, but that only shows surface level. We're going to accidentally hire people. And as a matter of fact, the majority of your organizations, when you talk to your veterans, ask them how they got there. I guarantee you the majority that ended up there accidentally, or not because of what they brought to the table, but because somebody else pulled them in or they found a back door. We also see generic strategies that don't align with real military skill sets. We hire vets for what they represent and what their category is. And again, I've been doing this work for 25 years. I've never met the same veteran or military spouse twice. So why are we hiring them for these generalizations that aren't real at the end of the day? So we're hiring them for what they represent and not what they bring as individuals to our organizations. We also see weak onboarding and stale first impressions that when veterans come in, we're used to being taken onto the team, checked in, show where we're going to work, where we're going to live, where we clean our weapons, all that other stuff. And when we come into your organization, we don't see that. We don't see the ladder to climb. We don't see who's who in the zoo, and we just kind of blend in. So weak onboarding and stale first impressions, where you never get that second chance to make that first impression. We also see partner fatigue. You're doing a bunch of events and you're doing the things that you've always done. You always went to this job fair at this stadium, or you always posted on this site, or you're a friendly whatever employer on a list. These are all ads with no traction or accountability. What are we doing with those things? Or is it just another flag that we're waving in a cornfield that only we see? The issue is with this is that all of these are fixable, but they all start with ownership and accountability. Someone in your team needs to grab this, whether it's HR, talent acquisition, whoever it is that owns this needs to own it and look themselves in the mirror, not with more slogans, not with more social media holidays like National High Five a Vet Day or whatever else we come up with, not more stock images on your career page of somebody wearing camouflage pajamas and American flag for a cape. It takes ownership, data, accountability, and asking questions. If you can't show who owns veteran outcomes, then you don't have a strategy. You have another poster that nobody is reading and veterans aren't believing. So talking about the contrast between programs and strategy. Programs get applause. Strategies get results. Simple and plain. Your programs happen once a year. We're running some of them right now. Some of our companies are doing coffee and cupcakes for veterans or a 5K or whatever. We haven't talked about them the rest of the year or talked to them. So these strategies need to run every day. It's also about moving from job boards and one-offs to integrated systems, executive ownership, and cross-department accountability with measurable KPIs of failure and success, because we don't have those in our companies. And again, if you're a federal contractor, you have to have these things, and they are going to come look. The other part about this is not compliance or not just that, it's legacy. It's our organizations. You are the leader. You're the CEO. You're the HR director. You can't build a legacy on lip service. Leave your mark. Leave places better than you found them. That was some of the best advice that I got as a young Marine, was to leave places better than I found them. And I've taken that with me here, even to the work we do now. This place is jacked up, but I'm going to leave this place better than we found it here at BufferSprings. And hopefully all of you are with us on that as well. But programs, again, they celebrate activity. Strategies create accountability. We don't need more visibility, folks. We need more accountability. So there's the difference between posting and performing. If your veteran effort lives only in HR or compliance, you are missing the bigger picture. It should be part of your business plan and attached to actual business acceleration plans for your company, not a one-off or a charitable philanthropic event. This is a business imperative and some of the greatest people that you will ever hire. But when leadership owns this mission and they use data to measure progress and hold managers accountable, veteran inclusion becomes a part of your business engine, not just an annual event or something to blow smoke up us again. Here's how we recommend employers build what works. In a simple framework in this, when we work with our clients, we obviously get into the weeds on this, but this is a simple 4-step framework that you can look at and take back from today. First and foremost, attracting. We're not just waving flags. We're not just being in some magazine. I'll tell you right now, veterans don't read half of those things anyway. Only people who read them are you and your competitors and whoever else wants to be on those vanity metrics driven lists. What we recommend doing is attract. Map your critical roles to relevant military experience. Key word there being relevant. Not, we have an entry-level frontline role. Veterans are used to eating crap sandwiches and doing more with less. Let's cram them into those entry-level roles. That's historically what we've done. What we need to do is look at this strategically and map our critical roles, the ones where we're losing money. We have production lines down. We're losing revenue. We are in a capitalistic society here in America. What drives our business? It's not patriotism. It's not pity. We don't hire people for that. So looking at the critical roles, what are relevant to the work that we do and the missions that we have in front of us? And where does relevant military experience connect with that? Whether it be tangible skills like actual certified engineers and logistics people, or is it more intangible skills of work ethic and things like that that you're not finding in the general populace? But we have to go to where our veterans are, whether it's at the transition offices at military bases, trying to get that 200,000 or so that get out every single year. DOD has attrition just like the rest of us around the 15% range. We go to military spouse networks. Military spouse networks are plugged into the veteran community. They know the who's who, a lot of times, more times than veterans do. Community organizations and community-based partnerships that are out there, not the loudest ones, but the ones that make impact and have the relevant talent that you need. We look at student veteran chapters at relevant schools. If you're looking for engineers, go look at the place that's building engineers. Don't just go to generic job fairs. I've been in this world. If you want to look at my LinkedIn profile and see the places that I've worked, these things do not work. Simple and plain. We need to change our playbooks. The old 2020 or 2010, thank you for your service, yellow ribbon stuff does not work in today's world of work. So once we attract, we know the types of veterans that we need. We can't hire all veterans, just like with any of our other initiatives that are in DEI or any of that. We can't hire all women. We can't hire all people of color. We have to make sure that people are a skill set match and ready, willing, and able to do the work at our company. So we have to be very serious in this first part of it. Then when it comes to hiring, we have to train our teams to actually decode and translate military language and alleviate biases that are out there that may be some of the bigger blockers. We have the opportunity in some companies to hire for potential and train for skill. You will not find a better demographic than veterans and military spouses if you have that opportunity. But our veterans come with huge potential and adaptability and problem solving. This isn't just about paperwork. So what does that look like? Or when we're talking to somebody, or we're sending our managers out there to talk with this amazing group of people, do they know what they're looking at? Or is it somebody getting a resume that says I was 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, 3rd Division, I was an E7, 3043. Does any of that make sense? We have to train our people to be distinct in what they're looking for, even if they need to do some work to translate that. And it's not just on the employer, it's on veterans meeting halfway. Stop taking the resume that TAP gave you that you know is garbage. Put work into it and work it as a dating profile. You like long walks on the beach, you want somebody 10 foot tall and blue hair and whatever. Make sure the job description matches the resume and vice versa. The other aspect of this is retain. We're not focusing on hiring, folks. We're focusing on retaining. It's more expensive for us to hire people, send them out the back door, and then we get a bad taste of hiring veterans because we hired the wrong ones, and veterans go out the back door and say that they shouldn't work at company X to their other counterparts. We need to look at retention. What can we do with this person from day one? Where are we planning them to be in year 5? And do we have escalation tracks and ways that they can do that? Even looking at things like mentorship in the military, steel sharpens steel, real recognizes real. And I've said this to you folks before who have followed me. But we can we can look at our own folks and be able to sharpen that. So if you have your strong leaders, your mentors, they should be in the process. They should be looking to train their replacements or their next leadership echelons within the business, and measure this to retention and not just hires. Going forward on that, we have to look at the advancement. We have to build visible career paths and leadership opportunities and growth paths so that veterans and military spouses can see a future, not just a transactional coffee date with your company, but where can I go build and serve the missions that I want to be a part of? The way that we do this is looking at what we do now. A lot of you have done the same things year over year, and it's rinse and repeat, and we're not even looking at the results. What I recommend is that we ask better questions. Don't copy the crowd. Just because somebody else in a magazine or going to that event, who cares? Let them go there and fail and waste their day. You may be the only one on a list that you care about. So start asking questions. Ask your veterans, ask other people, ask your competitors what they're doing and where they're getting traction. Because right now, with a 61% underemployment rate, we're not really doing a good job, folks. Another thing that I'll say outside of those 4 frame constructs of setting this up is that how you attract veterans is probably different than how you attract other people to your company. And I'll say this, and there's a lot of biases, generalizations about veterans, but one thing about us is that we all stepped up to serve, and it may not have been the popular or the safe thing to do. And we had everyone telling us that, Rob, you should do something else. You're so smart that you shouldn't go waste it in the Marine Corps. Marine Corps was the best place for me to use what I had at the time. But anyway, veterans don't chase titles. We chase purpose. We chase missions. And when you align your company's mission with the personal missions of the people you hire, engagement skyrockets. Again, when you align your company's mission with the personal missions of the people you hire, engagement skyrockets. With veterans, if you have a mission or something that's bigger than you, I'll leave an example here. We do a lot of work with Gilead Sciences and Kite Pharmaceutical. They are literally ending and eradicating the world of things like AIDS and HIV and hepatitis C and dangerous diseases. This is a mission that we can all get behind to save our loved ones. But when you give veterans that kind of mission and military spouses that mission, we take it that much further because we want to save, protect people, and grow and do something that means something. So every organization wants loyalty, but loyalty follows purpose. What is your purpose? Is it selling sugar water, or are you doing something meaningful in the world? And what does that mission look like? As one veteran in our SkillBridge program just told me the other day when we were doing our one-on-one session, and I asked, what is the most important thing for you? He simply said to me, I just need to feel like what I do still matters. And this was an Army vet who had 3 combat deployments, and everything that he did matters. Now this job at a cell phone kiosk or a warehouse somewhere doesn't have that. And that's the whole game here of where do we give people something that they believe in and they'll fight for. As a Marine, we want something to fight for. I want it to be at your company, and hopefully it is. So ask yourself, does your company sell something or do something incredible? Do you have a mission that's bigger than yourself? Show those roles and we'll show you exactly what we can do in those roles. So popping over to another poll. Which of these outcomes would matter most to your leadership team if your veteran strategy reached full potential and actually worked? Would it be lower turnover and stronger retention? Are we losing people? A lot of companies have folks jumping ship. They're going to competitors. They're leaving for one more cent or remote work. That's the new post-pandemic world of work that we're in. Would it be lower turnover? Would it be higher engagement and a stronger culture? Do you want your people living, eating, and breathing this? Coming from the Marine Corps, and we make the joke that the Marine Corps is not a branch of service, it's a cult. But I believed in everything and everybody who I was with. So does that engagement lead to stronger culture with your company? Is it better leadership pipeline? Looking at HRCI studies as well as SHRM studies right now, we're looking at about 80% of organizations don't have a leadership bench strength gap and don't know who's running the company in 10 years. Also in America, the last stat that I read is that 88% of organizations in our country have a skilled labor shortage. We don't have either of those problems in the military, do we? We have leadership succession planning down to a science. We have skilled people that we take like me, kids like me out of the hood, and we turn them out to be technicians, engineers, mechanics, you name it. We make our own talent. Or is it improved compliance and audit readiness? Are you in the middle of a government audit or subject to that, or you're a federal contractor and they're going to come look? What does that look like? And then there's also E. And if you picked E, you're the ones that are right in here. You can have it all with hiring veterans. You can reduce turnover, have higher engagement, better leadership pipelines, and pass audits and keep the government off of your back. This all happens when compliance and culture meet with your leadership and your business initiatives. And we'll share more on this when we get down to the end here. But looking at the end, all the above, this is what we all want in our companies. Doesn't matter the demographic. These people are built for this new world of work that we are in right now. This isn't pity. This isn't patriotism. This is smart business, ladies and gentlemen. So on that same soapbox, veterans are not a charity demographic. We are a performance accelerator. Again, we're not a charity demographic. Performance accelerator. My people thrive in chaos. We have led through change. We bring systems thinking to complex operations, sometimes in combat environments, and looking at things from a global perspective. Every study backs it up that veterans are built for today's world of work and today's market. The things that your employers, your leaders say that they need exist in our people. But the flags and the pity and the, oh, Sarah McLaughlin, arms of an angel, you can help these veterans for 15 cents a day, and some celebrity, that diminishes our power. Every study backs this up. And it's not just me as a veteran talking about how awesome my people are, because it's true, but the studies back it up. Every study that we see, 91% of HR leaders, and this is taken from a latest SHRM study, 91% of HR leaders say that veterans perform equal or better than our civilian counterparts. It's almost all of them. And I think the 9 people that weren't on there were probably in the bathroom or something. But we've seen this at companies. Our client data from BufferSprings of us working with companies shows that 27% higher retention when veterans are matched to the right roles and the intentional onboarding programs are there. We also see 38% stronger leadership pipelines that now these organizations are able to see who's running the ship in the next 5 years. And we also see higher engagements. Veterans know and, more importantly, trust other veterans. If you're taking care of us, we're going to go back into our community. We're going to pull more in. We're going to lift as we climb. We are built for this. It's a recruitment, cost downsizer for you. This is performance, folks, not philanthropy. And there are millions of other studies around this and a business case for hiring veterans, but this is a generality again. You need to see why veterans make sense for your company, the work that you do, the roles that you serve. But your veteran strategy has to be tied again to business outcomes, or else it's more noise. And we don't need more noise. There's 47,000 players in the veteran space that I call the sea of goodwill that are flying flags and hugging heroes and hero this, hero that. We're at 61% underemployment, folks. It's not working. We need to question this logic. We need this tied to business outcomes. I don't need another flag waving in a cornfield somewhere. So the real question comes down to this, and reversing this and putting it on you. And I get this all the time, is what can veterans do for our organizations? We've proven that. The US military veteran is one of the most proven products known to mankind. We have basically conquered the world. We've had so much innovation and things like that that have come into our society in our daily ways. Even the internet and things like that came from military things. So looking at the question here, it's not whether veterans are ready for your company. It's whether your company is ready for veterans. The Department of Defense is a Fortune 1 company, and our job is to fight battles and win wars, and we're really great at it. But not everyone is a war fighter. We have over 7,000 different jobs that translate out. I myself am not a combat-hardened war hero. I did supply chain, logistics, and embarkation. Then I did nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, recruitment, and manpower strategy. But all of those things led me to where I was going on my path as an individual. Is your company ready to hire individuals like me? Yes or no? And that's a question for all of you. Here's what happens when we stop checking boxes and start actually leading. And these are some case studies from 3 of our current partners. We have a manufacturing partner that we have helped save $1.2 million. Again, $1.2 million in turnover costs for improved productivity, and improve their productivity by 12% by implementing peer mentorship and accountability pipelines. That's one manufacturing client. One of our technology partners doubled veteran promotions and cut their time to fill in tech roles by 18%, almost 20% time to fill role. That's time, that's money, folks. That's things that are tied to business outcomes, not how many veterans we hugged at a job fair and couldn't prove it the next day. One of our healthcare partners increased engagement by almost 30% and cut their agency and their spend out from third-party recruiters down almost a quarter. And that's only in a 6-month time frame. These results don't come from slogans. They come from systems. They come from people investing and putting actual talk behind the walk behind the talk on this. This isn't luck, folks. It's leadership. I don't see anything about patriotism or pity on any of this slide. If those are your reasons for hiring my people, they're wrong, and they're not going to get anyone behind it. Even looking at where we are as a country right now, we have people that don't talk to each other because of who they voted for in the last election. Patriotism's not driving business outcomes for us, folks. Let's be real with ourselves. So as we wrap up here, thank you so much for marching with us. Again, our mission here at BufferSprings is simple. It's to eradicate underemployment within the military-connected community, and we are going to do it one way or another. But it'll be a lot easier for us to do this if we have all of you marching with us and taking something from this and going back to your companies and challenging the status quo, asking questions, calling out that vendor and saying, hey, how many veterans are we going to see? How many hires did we get out of this? But not just doing what we've always done, but having accountability. We appreciate you marching with us, and we can't do this mission alone, and we need every one of you lifting as we continue to climb. Our porch light's always on here at BufferSprings, whether you're a client of ours or not, but we have our work cut out for us, folks. With a 61% underemployment rate, we will see this diminished in our time. And as I explained, this has a lot of intersectionality to me. I served in the Marine Corps for 14 years. I got my butt kicked by transition, was part of these stats and working in a cubicle after I got out, and this is time to fix it. For full transparency, my son is actually at Parris Island right now, graduating as a Marine on November 21st. And even though this wasn't fixed when I got out, it'll be fixed by the time he gets out, and I'll put everything I have behind that. So as we wrap up here, if you're ready to build what others won't, I would love to talk with you. Again, ask hard questions, challenge assumptions, lead with purpose, people. My contact info is on the screen. We'll share links to our employer resource hub as well that you can find on buffersprings.com. We have some smart guides to hiring veterans, some veteran 503 checklists for those of you who are federal contractors. And also, if you can't tell, I was born without a filter. So we'll be taking this conversation over to HRCI Engage after this. We'll be talking more about the poll results and answering questions and kind of doing some show and tell with you all. So we'll get that link pulled up here as well. But Porch Light is always on here. Even if you're one of our clients or not, we need every one of us to get better at doing this, and we all have something to gain out of it. So without further ado, Clarissa, I'll put the torch back over to you, but thank you all so much for your time, attention, and thank you for hiring my people. You won't go wrong.
Rob, thank you for an amazing and uplifting and educational talk today. And before I give you some of my own reactions, I want to say that, as I said earlier, we are so grateful at HRCI for everyone who participates with us every week. We have HR professionals from all over the U.S. and Rob from all over the world today who wanted to connect with you to hear what you were saying. So today we have HR professionals from Canada, Poland, Ukraine, Nigeria, Ghana, and the United Kingdom. If I didn't mention your country, please go ahead and put it in the chat. Before we get to the Q&A, I just feel compelled to say, someone said Antarctica, thank you. I feel compelled to say a couple of things. First of all, again, a passionate and important conversation, and the way you delivered it, thank you for that, Rob. It touched so many people, and I see their comments in the chat. As a former chief people officer, when I think of the hundreds, thousands of people over my career who've been on my HR teams, my top performers were veterans, bar none. And one company I worked for said they don't understand what we do. They don't qualify for what we do. So what I did is I got veterans to come in and just do roundtables and tell their stories. And after about the third person, we ended up having veterans from every branch of the military, including the Coast Guard that sometimes people forget. Every branch of the military. We went from an organization that didn't understand to one that did. So what you're reminding us here is we in HR have an opportunity in helping our veterans gain employment to educate our managers and hiring managers who just may not get it. So thank you for making sure we were reminded of that.
100%. And that's a great point as well, where that may be the first place that you all start. You have veterans, you have military spouses working at your company now. Talk to them first. How'd they get there? Was it on accident? Was it on purpose? Can we do it again? Are they great people? Look at their evaluations, their performance records. As Clarissa said, we will see this every time. Our veterans are doing great things. Now let's just make it intentional. Ask your folks.
Absolutely.
They want to see more people like them there.
Absolutely. So this person says this ties into what you just said, but I'll ask you to expand upon it, Rob. This person says, I'm a military spouse and I've advocated for a veteran program at companies I've worked for with no success. How do you pitch to higher ups, especially to nonprofits, since the Patriots Act doesn't assist?
So looking to start a veterans initiative, first and foremost, it has to be a business case. Again, it's not, hey, we just need to start this charitable program or whatever. We have enough of those things going on, and it's not going to get traction anyway. Even if you do get the yes, it's not going to go anywhere. And then when it comes up for budget renewal next year, it's going to get chopped because there's nothing behind it. So it has to be tied to business outcomes once again. What I would recommend is that you form what we like to call a military effective task force. There are people at your company who care about this. You have your compliance folks who are being audited or looked at by the government, and they're looking and submitting their numbers. Those
Hmm.
people are not talking to talent acquisition. So you are being sued or audited or inspected by the government on not hiring enough veterans, but HR in compliance doesn't hire veterans. Talent acquisition and recruiters do. So you don't have enough veterans in the nightclub, but nobody told the bouncer what a veteran looks like or that we're supposed to have veterans in the nightclub. And you need more veterans and military spouses in your nightclub. So what I recommend is getting everyone in a task force put together from HR, from talent acquisition, from your employee resource groups and your veterans, so they have a voice there too. And it's not just corporate, but it takes a village to raise a great program. You need to activate your villagers. Please feel free to reach out. We have charts and some different ways that we can set this up for you and some other materials. But that's the way that we recommend, is that you get everybody in the right vehicle, get everybody with the same destination plugged into the GPS, and then who's doing what? Who's the navigator? Who's driving? Who's riding shotgun? Everybody has to have a job in this, and everybody has to lift in order for it to move. No
Thank
flat
you for
tires on the
that.
vehicle.
Love that. Could you define, I hope I'm pronouncing the acronym correctly, VEVRA,
Yes.
VEVRAA. What is it and how does it apply to military spouses, Rob?
Absolutely. So VEBRA is the Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment and Assistance Act of 1974. In a nutshell, we didn't treat veterans well when they came back from Vietnam. So we had to put a law together that stopped discrimination and unfair hiring practices or evaluation practices for veterans. You can look up VEBRA. There's been some changes as of March 31st this year of what you are supposed to do. So if you haven't looked at it recently, you might want to do that before you're being asked a question that you need to know the answer to. But with VEVRA specifically, a lot has changed over the years and it has evolved. But what it protects is how you hire military veterans. There is a benchmark set on that. So if you're doing business with the United States government, you have a benchmark of 5.1% hiring that you're supposed to be at for your veterans. So if you hire 100 people, 6 of them should be vets. If not, you have to show that you are at least doing the efforts, that you're posting on the ESDS, electronic service job distribution networks, that you are going out there and shaking hands and kissing babies in this demographic network. Any recruitment that you can do from behind your desk is not seen as genuine efforts anymore from the OFCCP or Department of Labor. So there are things that we have to do for veterans and people with disabilities, and we should be doing anyway because they're some of our best people. But we do, there's a lot to peel back on VEVRA, but at the end of the day, like if you're a federal contractor, you have to hire veterans. If you have to do something, you might as well do it well. And the majority of us are not. So don't do it for compliance. It may be a reason to do it, maybe something that opens up some ears or gets that budget allocated on your side, but do it for your people.
Got it. This person says, I'm launching a colleague resource group at my employer for veterans, families, and supporters. What are some pointers you have for starting initiatives that can make a real difference and a positive impact? I want us to take action and make an impact, not just build awareness.
Love that question. Employee resource groups, business resource groups, affinity programs, clubs for veterans and military connected people in your organization are going to be one of the strongest assets that you have. As I said, vets know and more importantly, trust other vets and members from our community. You putting something on your website and your careers page kind of speaks to me, but a military spouse telling me that she's had an amazing time with your company and gets paid well and loves her work resonates a lot more with me. So when you're building these employee resource groups and veteran groups, you have to let the general populace in. This can't be a place for just your vets to go in and talk about old war stories and have gun club for veterans or whatever. You have to pull in executive sponsorship. You have to pull in your leadership so they understand our people and what we go through, the language that we speak, the things that we need in there. And it has to be built off of advocacy and tied to the actual business. So The first point is getting the right people. Leadership has to buy in on this. If this is just your vets saying they want it, no one's going to believe on that. Your C-suite down needs to say, this is what we care about, and we are empowering these people because we believe in them and we believe in this community and it's part of who we are. So leadership has to back it. They also have to be present. You have to have budget, authority, the shot calling ability, the people, the bullets, band-aids, beans that you need to get the job done at the end of the day. So this can't just be meeting once a month or once a year. It has to be tied to business outcomes. And when you do these things, you're attaching them to, let's create policies from it. We're not hiring enough veterans. It's because our hiring managers don't know what they're looking at. Let's bring our veterans and military spouses in to look at resumes or help out with screening or do some sort of the selection process in there to bring them in to know what they look at. Real recognizes real. Even though you don't know what I did in the Marine Corps, if I show that resume to another Marine, they're going to know immediately what I did. So bring your people in. It has to be more than just a gun club. It has to be tied to business outcomes. It has to have accountability, events, awareness, all of these things, and be a living, breathing, mini military connected community in your company, not just the check in the box, because ERGs are kind of like all the cool kids have them and we all have to have them now. But the majority that I've seen are pretty faceless and garbage at the end of the day. It's coffee and donuts for veterans in the break room on Veterans Day. Gee, thanks. I'd rather go to Golden Corral and get a free buffet. So
This person says, our company has a lot of veterans, about 50%, and we have a lot of veteran initiatives, but I was wondering if you have any tips or advice for a small federal contractor looking to get into the SkillBridge program. Define what that is, Rob, before you answer this question, just to make sure we level set.
absolutely. So the Department of Defense SkillBridge program, in a nutshell, when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2012, I got out on Friday and I started my civilian job on Monday. I didn't really transition, so to speak. I feel like I was on the back roads meandering through DOD and what I've been doing for 14 years. Then I was thrown in the middle of I-95 and everybody's going 80 past me and I'm going 40, trying to ramp back up to speed because I haven't been there before. What SkillBridge offers is it creates that on-ramp like you would of getting into a normal highway. And we can provide service members with a month to up to 6 months of their last months of service can actually be where they're assigned to your company as their appointed place of duty. So rather than kicking boxes in a warehouse or blowing stuff up or fighting bad guys or whatever I did when I was in, my job can be working with you, and DOD is paying me. I'm getting my full benefits, my full pay, but it's giving me a softer on-ramp and a way to prove myself to your company and for your company to prove themselves to me so we can meet halfway. So there's a lot more to SkillBridge. Unfortunately, we only have a few minutes left on here. We have some knowledge and some different things on our website as well to get the general information on this, as well as some advanced practices. But Department of Defense SkillBridge is going to help you where we have about 200,000 service members that are getting out every single year. This helps you tap into that transitioning military populace. It does not help you, though, with the 18.4 million veterans that we have in our backyards right now that got out 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago or 15 years ago that you can hire immediately. So there's a lot of emphasis on the transitioning service member and the troops coming home. But just remember that there's veterans like me that got out years ago that still have that veteran background, but also have civilian equivalent experience. So SkillBridge is a phenomenal program, cost saver, great test program, but you have to do it. This isn't cheap labor. This isn't free labor from the Department of Labor or Department of Defense. This is an on-ramp to great talent and better understanding military and connecting with the military installations.
I think we have time for one more question. What advice would you give to a veteran who is struggling to find a job despite creating targeted resumes and translating experience to civilian terms? Prior Marine is lumped in as entry level despite having a degree, certifications, and a tour.
What I will say is that as veterans, and I went through this myself, is that we can do anything. We are the human equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. We can literally do anything and probably have done anything. Even when I was talking about my own background, supply, then nuclear, biological, chemical, then recruiting, those are 3 different human beings, although I did all those jobs. I also didn't mention that I've done mess duty. I've done guard duty. I've done deployments. I've done all these other things that aren't in my job description or anything else that I've done. So as veterans, we can do anything. Your civilian life is not the time to do that. What I recommend is there's an ancient Japanese concept called ikigai. It's Ikigai. And I found this kind of in a founder market fit as I was establishing my business, but I ended up in jobs that I had no business being in. I'm part of that statistic. I ended up in a cubicle selling $40 hammers back to the government and ringing a bell every time I made a sale after I just ran 6 states of New England, completely underutilized, underemployed myself, which kind of lit the fire under me to start this. But what I recommend is taking something like Ikigai and finding out your passions, your purpose, what you're great at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, and gear all your firepower towards that. When I was getting out, I saw all these different mountain ranges that were in front of me and people waving flags that they wanted to hug a hero and heroes here. I applied to all your companies, by the way, and none of you hired me as an accomplished salesperson. Now it is what it is. But anyway, looking at it there, figuring out where you want to go is ever important. And even though you may not be there, I started off selling job fairs and things like that in the veteran space that don't work, but it brought me to where I am now to be a CEO. And I've from the day that I found Ikigai, I've always been climbing my mountain. And over the past 10 years, I've ascended my own mountain. I'm not climbing other people's and climbing back down and going here and going there. Find your mountain. As long as it takes you, find your mountain and make sure that you're putting in your pack what you need for your mountain and not someone else's. That's the distracting part. Get your resume for the job that deserves you and that you deserve. Get your mission, folks.
Find your mountain. We are going to land it here, Rob Arndt. You are amazing. Thank you so much on behalf of all my friends and colleagues from all over the world. We are so grateful to you, your wisdom, and your journey, because when you found your mountain, you're going to help a lot of people today find theirs. Thank you so much.
Nobody likes to climb a mountain alone. We got plenty of room on this mountain, folks. We need you.
HRCI Engage, it's our global HR online community attracting over 1,200 HR professionals from over 138 countries in a wide range of industries. HRCI Engage is built exclusively for HR professionals at every career stage. This free platform boosts your career through diverse perspectives, collaboration opportunities, innovative discussions, and expert insights. Go to hrci.org/engage to jump in, because Rob said he's going to join us after this call to continue today's amazing discussion immediately afterwards. And you can ask him more questions that are germane to where you are on your journey on the mountain. Keep on learning with us here at HRCI. Please go to hrci.org to sign up for our newsletter if you have not done so already. I tell you every week, I love a coupon. Continue to invest in yourself. Go to our Learning Center, get 20% off the entire Learning Center. You'll see the discount code below. Here is our recertification activity ID 720-554, 720-554. We're going to leave that up on the screen for a few minutes. Special thanks to Hi Bob for sponsoring today's event. And Rob said something earlier, and he talked about it when he talked about the mountain. Earlier, he said, loyalty follows purpose. He talked about don't be climbing somebody else's mountain, climb your own. And it starts with understanding your why, your purpose. And once you understand that, amazing things will happen. As I remind you every week, HR changes the world, and it starts with each of us. Take care of yourself so you can continue to do this world-changing and life-changing work. Rob, with gratitude from all of us, thank you so much for being here today. Everyone, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Alchemizing HR, Navigating What's Next. Be well.
Thank you, everyone.